So what I like to do is tighten the crap out of the nut. If you value your grass, don't spray this out on your grass. If you ever want to do stuff like this in your wife's taxidermy shop, you don't want to spray it inside here either. Hey, so we're back. Today we're going to get these tired wheels and bearings off of there. It's 9:33 a.m. It is one hot SOB around here today. Got sweat just running down your leg, your arm. Not much breeze in this old boat stall. So anyway, Southeast Texas, heat advisory day. High ass humidity. Kinda, I don't know, put it in simple terms, it's Satan's ass crack around here. We got this side off. That spindle looks great. I have high hopes I'm gonna be able to reuse them bearings. We'll get y'all set up on the other side, you can watch it. So I think that right there is the date code. I believe it's 09 of 03. That's one reason we're gonna go ahead and put some new tires. The other reason, they got a flat spot from heck sitting there on the floor. The only reason it wasn't sitting on the rims, I think, is because it was sitting on a trailer rim and tire that was under the trailer. So I'm going to try the kinder gentler approach on this side. The other side took a few dents. Probably replace that one. We'll see if this rawhide mallet maybe knock her off. It's still denting it anyway. We'll buy new caps. I mean, technically, these would work if you want to reuse them. So this particular style of hub is the one I definitely prefer. It's got the grease right there. The grease runs through the spindle and greases kind of from the back and pushes out the old stuff up forward. You can really get these hubs full of grease, which is nice, because if you got it full of grease, they ain't got room for water to get in there. This one's looking pretty good. This has not got a cotter key. It's got a tab washer. Yeah, you can't see it from that side. So this flat spot right here, there's gonna be two tabs, but you can kind of just barely see that one right there. The other one is gonna be coming up through that slot in the castle nut. I'm right behind it right now. So this style of lock, I'm not real fond of. I'd rather have a cotter key, but these work. You can see, you just push it down, back out of your way, and then you'll be able to turn that nut off of there. Hanging up a little. There we go. So it kind of grabs a little. You might have to go back after it with the screwdriver and just kind of push it down a little. Once you get past those castellated spots, though, it come off. Of course, this one gonna decide to hang up and be a pain in the butt. There we go. Just work with it. You get it off of there. I am going to try and keep this stuff separate, because if I reuse those bearings, I want them spinning the same direction. I'm going to put this lug nut on this hub. Actually, I'm going to put two lug nuts on it, because that one was missing a lug nut. We'll have to change out one of those studs. So now I know this one will go back on this side. Pull that off. You see, this is that tab washer. Those are the tabs we were pushing down. There'll just be one of them folded up through there, or should be just one of them folded. Now this spindle looks good. The sleeve that the seal rides on is nice and clean, doesn't have much of a groove, just a little shiny spot. That hole right there is where the grease travels all the way through and comes out. So it comes out behind your back bearing, which is shouldered up against here, and pushes all that old stuff back this way. Really great design. I've had the best luck with this style. So that's gonna do it for down here. We're gonna go pull them seals out somewhere where I got a vise. I don't want to have to bang them out with the bearings and risk messing up bearings that might still be good. So here's another style of cap that's on boat trailers a lot. I think the most common name is bearing buddy or something like that. These work okay. They just put grease in on the top. If you overfill these, they're bad about pushing your seals out or pushing grease out of your seals. When you're filling them, you put your grease gun on that grease cert. As you pump grease in it, that center is going to move out. You kind of see when I push on the back side. Now when you're pumping grease in there, you want that sucker to just barely start moving and stop. Stop putting grease in it. You got all you're going to get in there for the time being. What a lot of people do, fill this up until this spring bottoms out and it ends up pumping grease out the back side of your hub. A lot of times all this in here is full of grease. You can't even see that spring. Another way of doing a trailer bearing hub, just get it as full of grease as you can and knock a regular old cap on it. Less places for water to get in. Obviously, if it's full of grease, it's harder, there's no space for water to get in. These actually are still very efficient on a boat trailer. Pull it apart every few years and check on things. Keep right on going down the road. So here's another style of trailer hub. A plastic cap threaded on. This particular one is set up a lot like those old tie downs. So it's got a grease cert on the end of the spindle. Shoot some grease in there. It has the same little channel, pushes grease out front. These are good. There's one particular one, and I don't have an example of it, but they're the oil bath kind. They'll have a plastic cap. They'll be filled with gear lube. It's purely personal opinion, but they suck. I don't run them. If I ever see them, I end up changing them to something else. I've been pretty fortunate. Most of them have actually had the threaded spindle, able to screw a new Zerk in there and put a different cap on and just grease it like this style here, and they're great. I hadn't had any luck with the oil bath style. Alright, so all these races and bearings look great. The grease looked great. It didn't look contaminated by water or anything. I'm gonna reuse these bearings. That was one main reason of kind of taking it easy, not just driving the seal out with the bearing, because they've lasted this long and stayed in such good shape. I don't see any sense in putting something that ain't tested in there. So doing this, it isn't for no reason. I had seal was absolutely starting to leak. Both of the seals these back sides are getting real rusty. That's failure point. It's waiting to happen. All right, so it's a new day. We're gonna sneak into Dana's taxidermy shop. We're gonna take care of cleaning them bearings up. Got a bunch of good stuff going on here. The main reason we're here is that right there. It's hot outside, like over 100 degrees. So I'll get this camera set up and we'll go over cleaning these bearings. So we're going to use a little compressed air to blow that bearing out after the brake clean. One thing you don't want to do is spin it. So air pressure, I mean, you can make it spin. It's a lot of fun, but you don't want to do that. Just blow up through here, get whatever brake clean is left in there blown out. All right, dinner's done. Everybody's sleeping. We're gonna slip out here and try and get those bearings packed, get all that back together. So we got everything all cleaned up earlier. Everything's still separated. We'll go through packing them real quick and get that over with. I want to get all this done tonight. Got some new seals. Part number there. So anyway, I don't have one of the fancy bearing packing tools, so we're just gonna do it the old school way. Get your little dollop of grease in your hand. What you're trying to do is roll it up underneath this lip. So I like to just kind of smear a thin layer out and then just grab and pull with just that lip. And as you do that, you work around. You see, we're trying to push it up there. You're not trying to get a whole lot in there. You're gonna get a little there, but so it's a nice thin layer. Kind of did give it a pull and a twist. And right there, you can see where that grease is coming out the top. That's what you want. You want that. You want to see that all the way around. So we're just going to continue on going. This probably takes a little bit longer than a bearing packing tool, but it's not that bad. And it's way more fun because you get the grease all over you this way. So there's always that to look forward to. I'll call that good. I like to put a little around here on the race itself. Now before we install these on the spindle, we're going to get really carried away with the grease inside here. The next thing we're going to do, you see this gap inside the seal. I like to fill that completely up with grease. So I use it to get most of this grease off of my hand. And we're just going to keep packing that up with grease. Sorry about that. Now the only purpose this serves that I'm aware of is it takes up any space that water can just sit. Another place is in between. There's two lips on this seal. That's going to be kind of hard to see, but I like filling in between those lips with grease as well. This you don't have to get too carried away with. You just want some lube on there. So now we're just going to take some grease fill up this space around the back of this bearing. Hey, nobody said this is going to be a clean job. So now you got a lot of extra grease here. You got that groove filled up with grease. When you hammer this in, it's gonna squirt a little grease out. You want that. So I'm gonna use this piece of 2x4 just to protect the tab somewhat. Not too terribly worried about it. And this piece here is to go over the seal. You don't necessarily want to tap directly on the seal with the hammer if you can avoid it. So I'm gonna use that block of wood. Oops. Give it a few taps, make sure everything's going straight. Everything looks like it's going pretty straight. Now when you're tapping this in, just like if you were to do the races, I like doing northeast, southwest, northeast, southwest. Just work your way around. Don't get too heavy-handed on one side and then try to hit the other. And you'll hear a distinct difference when it bottoms out. You can see what squished out in between that bearing and that seal. That's fine. We are just gonna move it down a little bit further in front of that bearing for now. Just like the back one, go ahead and stick a little grease on the bearing race. Drop our front bearing in. Drop the rest of our parts in there. I like putting the washer the way it came off, and you can usually see that. You can see the shiny spot where it was pushed up against the inner race on the bearing. I don't think it makes a huge difference, but it's something I do. So your heavy duty washer will go in there. If you got the cotter key style, your nut would go next. Once that's tightened down, your cotter key would go in. But since this particular axle has this little tab washer, it's going to go on there, and then your nut's going to go on there. So that's how all the parts lay out when it's bolted back up on the trailer. Alright, so we got them all done, got everything packed up, everything's ready to roll. Maybe we get this little project knocked out this weekend. I'm going to try and talk Dana into maybe doing some taxidermy stuff in the future on the channel. We'll see how that goes. New tires, new evening. We're gonna try and get this sucker slapped together real quick. We don't have much light in this boat stall, so I'm gonna get y'all set up pretty quick, and maybe, just maybe, you'll be able to see what the heck we're gonna be doing. So we'll do this out here since there's a little bit more light. So basically what we're gonna do, you see that cavity up in there? We're gonna fill all of that up with grease. This is definitely the messy job, but it'll save you a whole bunch of pumping with your grease gun. So just put it up in there and fill up that cavity. Basically what you want to do is just leave the room that spindle's going to take up. I'm going to do the same on the front. Just ahead of this bearing, there's space in there. We're going to do the same thing here, just kind of fill that space up in there. Now you don't have to get that carried away on a utility trailer or something like that that's not being dipped in water. I mean, you definitely don't have to get as carried away with that. All right, so the lighting sucks in here right now. So what we're gonna do, we got both our bearings in there packed, got the big heavy washer, and slide this on. Now you try and keep that seal off of your threads on your spindle so it doesn't get cut. And you already see how much grease is pumping out of there. That's what we're going for. So now, if you've got the tab washer style, that goes on. The tabs ride on that flat spot in the spindle. Castle nut, grooves facing out, whether it's tab washer or cotter key. There we go. You don't want to cross thread it. We got a lot of grease in here, so we're going to be doing a little squeezing with this. It's all right. Okay. So what I like to do, I'm not saying it's the right way or the wrong way, it's just the way I do it, is tighten the crap out of the nut. Give it a couple of spins. Tighten a little bit more. Pretty happy with that. Now I back it all the way off until it's loose. And just barely snug it finger tight. And I do have enough grease on there. I don't really know where I'm at with my locks. So we just barely went finger tight with it. And what I'm going to do now is go to where that groove is lined up with my tab washer. We're going to tighten it a little bit. That second tab washer ought to push up in there. That's all I'm going to tighten it. If this was a cotter key style, I would do the same thing. I would just barely tighten it and then snug it to the next groove I needed to get that cotter key in. It doesn't hurt if this is a little loose. You just don't want it too tight. We gotta go a hair more maybe. There we go. So the tab washer goes up in the groove. That nut's locked on. Now I forgot to grab the cap. Take the cap. We're just gonna tap her on. Same way we would tap in a race or tap in the seal. Just work your way around it. You'll feel it, it'll stop. And that's it. We'll pump some grease in it. Now this is really where the amount of grease you put in there to start with starts paying off. You can see we're still getting quite a bit of grease in there, even as full as that was. This particular style hub, what you're looking for is that grease just to start coming out there. You know that sucker's full when it starts doing that. Matter of fact, we're gonna stop right there. Now I'd put the cap on there right now, but I ran off and forgot it. Alright, so I admit it, I'm a rookie at this camera stuff. I did not even think about the lighting situation. But we'll get better at it. It'll take us a little time. I also didn't do very well, let's just say piss poor planning on my part, forgetting the little covers. I also forgot my impact. So we're just gonna use a 1/2-inch drive ratchet and snug these bad boys up. It's pretty awesome seeing it all go back together. It's been a long time. Alright, well that's it in a nutshell. I'll show y'all what I try and do. I try to line that date code up with the valve stem. That way it makes it real easy for me to remember how old my tires are. But there's no way y'all are seeing the other side tonight, so I'm gonna get that put together. And all right, so the first test run was a complete success. We made it here. So we're gonna check our work here. Oh yeah, that's gonna work. Go to the other side. We didn't go very far, maybe 15, 20 miles. But if there was a problem going on in there, we'd be feeling it right now. All right, well, I know doing trailer bearings and tires is dirty and probably boring if you've ever done it before. So hopefully you stick around for the following parts. We're going to be getting into some better stuff. We got to get this running. It's been sitting just as long as everything else. I'm sure it's going to take a little bit, but we'll get to it.